Welcome to this Bond Solon video. I'm delighted to have John Curtis of the Criminal Cases Review Commission here with us. John, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the Commission?
Hello, Mark. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today. I've been at the Commission for 20 years and my current role is as in-house counsel, so I'm a barrister. I have four key functions within the Commission. First is to defend it in litigation. Second is to give advice, principally on criminal law. The third element is about training our staff to ensure they're up to date with developments in the law. And the fourth function is outreach to the legal profession and the expert community.
So why is the Commission there? What's the point of having a Commission?
We have two key purposes, and those are established by Parliament.
Yes.
The first is to investigate potential miscarriages of justice.
In the criminal justice system?
That's right, in the criminal justice system. And our second function is where we identify a potential miscarriage of justice, we can refer that case to the appropriate appellate court. That might be the Court of Appeal Criminal Division in England and Wales, it could be the counterpart in Northern Ireland, or it can be the Crown Court if it's a summary conviction.
Now, of course, many convictions obviously based on evidence, and that can come in various forms: oral evidence, written evidence, digital evidence, and expert witnesses. Now, the people watching today will be interested in the expert witness element to it. So how much expert evidence comes before you that potentially causes a miscarriage of justice?
Expert evidence is a very important part of the criminal justice system. There's no doubt about that. And experts are an important part of the system. We interact with experts in a number of different ways. So one way is where applicants and their representatives have...
And the applicant's the person that wants you to look at the evidence?
That's right, yes. So people apply to the Commission. And in some cases, they'll be represented, but not all the time. Some people make applications themselves. But either them or their representatives have maybe gone to an expert and have got a new expert report that might challenge what was said at trial or on appeal.
So is this a rerun of the trial, or is it looking at the evidence? I mean, do you represent either side of the dispute?
We don't represent either side. And that's an interesting part about the Commission. It's an inquisitorial body. In other words,
not adversarial.
We're a unique body in that respect. So one of the things we do is we interact with experts by asking them to act for us.
Okay.
And to look at a case and make an assessment, but they're reporting to us rather than one of the parties to the trial or the appeal.
And do you send them a letter of instruction? How does that work?
Yes, experts are appointed by the Commission. There's a standard contract and experts are paid and we send detailed instructions. One of the things that we're particularly interested in, though, is when experts look wider, and that's perfectly permissible in the way that we carry out our work, is that we tend not to focus just on narrow questions. There will be some questions.
So they look at all the evidence, is that what you're saying?
Yes. It's very important that we take a holistic approach to a case, that we look at what the convicted person says about why they believe they were wrongly convicted, but we also have to consider the counter-arguments to that and what the prosecution might say in an appeal. And we have to come to an independent view that balances both sides.
So are you saying that just because an expert's got a different opinion than the trial expert, you would look at that as...
Yes, but there are certain parameters. The Court of Appeal is very interested in scientific developments. There's a wonderful quote from a case called Holsworth, where the judge there talks about today's orthodoxy being tomorrow's outdated learning.
Yes.
And the court is very interested in scientific developments and knowledge and practices.
So, for example, DNA may change.
That's a great example. And there have been lots of developments with pathology and paediatrics, and other types of evidence have been discredited, bite marks, earprints.
Earprints.
Forensic lip reading is doubtful. So we're conscious that the knowledge base, the evidence base that experts routinely consider changes. So the court is interested in developments. It's less interested in an expert saying the same thing that was said at trial.
But a different slant.
Yeah, or adding to head count. We're looking for something new that significantly changes things. It's also important that experts confine themselves to critiques of the scientific evidence and don't stray into criticising the way that counsel presented the case or the judge summed it up.
So when you say they've got to look at all the evidence, but they've got to focus on their particular scientific point, is that what you're saying?
Yes. One of the considerations that the Court of Appeal will apply to fresh evidence is whether it's capable of belief, and another one is whether it's admissible. So it's really important in our work that the expert can demonstrate a track record in the field and that their work is accredited and compliant with the criminal procedure rules and the relevant practice directions.
Well, just to be clear, so going back to the principles again, you don't decide whether the conviction is correct or not. You decide whether it should be passed to an appellate court.
Yes.
And then that court decides. It's not a retrial. It's looking at the evidence. Was that sufficient? Is it capable of belief? And is there a reasonable test there, or is it?
Yes. So the test is set out in the legislation that creates the commission. That legislation is the Criminal Appeal Act 1995.
Right.
And the test that the commission has is there a real possibility that the court will find that the conviction is unsafe?
Again, you talked various elements there about the expert witnesses. How do you select the experts, test whether they're suitable? Is there any due diligence you perhaps look at before you select them? Then you presumably instruct them and agree the fee on your terms and conditions, which I think you said was standard. What's that process? How do you find them?
So
how do you test them?
Some people ask whether we've got a panel or whether we use a particular database. We don't, and the reason is because we have so many different types of cases that it would be impractical to try and maintain expertise in every level of forensic science. So what we tend to do is when we identify an area that we need expert help on, is we will do research to identify somebody that is leading in that field, has got the accreditation, may have given evidence in appellate proceedings, and we will approach them.
And in that approach to them, do you discuss this stuff? Do you sort of test them on a phone call, or is it a meeting? How does that work?
We have an open relationship with our experts.
But do you speak to them? Do you phone them up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dialogue is central to what we do. We know that cases evolve. And I've mentioned earlier that there's a need to keep a holistic view, not just take a narrow viewpoint on a case. So it's great when experts say, you've asked me about this, but I've noticed this, or I've thought about that. We're very open to that type of dialogue.
It's clear in the criminal procedure rules that the duty is to the court. Where's the duty lie when you instruct them?
Certainly to the court, also to us.
So there's a double duty, you're saying?
I think so. We've got to be candid, and we've got to respect the Commission's independence. As I said, we don't represent the people that apply to us, although we consider their cases. We have to balance what they say against what the Crown will say, and the wider interests of the criminal justice system that will include consideration of victims and the public purse.
Well, talk about the purse. Do you pay these experts?
Pleased to say we do. We obviously point out that this is public money, and it's very good when experts offer us a reduced rate because they are doing it in the interest of justice and the public good. So, very welcome.
And so, but do they say, no, you're not paying me enough?
Fees are negotiable. Sometimes we look at hourly rates. Sometimes we look at fixed fees. It's important to get a balance there that allows value for money. And another key consideration is timely delivery. So justice delayed is justice denied. So we do ask our experts to accelerate work where possible.
But there isn't, as in the courts would set a timetable. Do you set a timetable?
At the outset, it's good to have some benchmarks in so that both parties know and manage expectations around there. We like to manage expectations, and that's good to be able to report back to the person whose conviction that we're looking at.
And in that report back to the person whose conviction you're looking at, do they get to see that expert witness report?
In most cases, yes.
Why don't they see it in all cases?
There might be some sections that are sensitive. One of the things the Commission can do with its statutory powers is call in any evidence from any public body. So we might be seeing some information that is highly sensitive. Not in the
public domain, yeah.
Police information, security service information, medical information about a third party that the expert might see and comment on, but that might not be appropriate to share. But wherever possible, yes.
So you got the report. It looks like it's suitable for passing to an appellate court. Do you then use that report at the appeal court, and does that expert witness give oral evidence at that appeal court?
That's a decision. We would pass the report to the court and the parties to the appeal. It will be a decision for the parties on how the appeal is run, with any appropriate directions given by the court. Sometimes experts are called and do give evidence following the Commission's reference.
Are they cross-examined?
Yes, if they're called, they will be cross-examined. But on occasions, the reports are agreed and the appeal can proceed on the papers.
And the appeal, is that a hearing or is it done on paper? I mean, you go along and actually hear an appeal?
So the Court of Appeal will consist of 3 judges presided by a Lord or Lady Justice and 2 other senior judges on the panel. And there will be representation for the convicted person, the appellant, and the prosecution.
And that's a public hearing?
Yes.
And is it usual for the expert to be called, or would they be present in court in case they're required?
I would say it's about half and half.
Okay.
Experts may well be called.
Many experts will be watching this interview. If they're interested in being considered, can they approach you? Absolutely.
Particularly if there's a case that an expert is thinking about where they're aware that there have been significant changes in the way that practices are undertaken or knowledge is
developed.
They can make an approach to the Commission and talk to us about those cases.
And then you presumably go back to the defendant, and would you?
Where we have some information that leads us to believe that there might be a thematic issue, we can undertake reviews of cases without people applying. There is a proactive element to the Commission's work.
Interesting. And what about an expert who gave evidence in the original trial who thinks, things have changed? Can they come back to you as well?
Yes. Now, that happened in a case that was heard recently called Oliver Campbell. There, a forensic psychiatrist had changed his view on a case. He'd given evidence many years ago, but things had moved on, and he was part of the submissions to the Commission that cast doubt on the safety of the original conviction, supported a reference, and that conviction was quashed.
Interesting. And so, now I think you said earlier that there are 2 sorts of cases. The defendant represents themselves or applies themselves, and ones that are represented by solicitors.
Yes.
Did they get legal aid for that?
There is some legal aid for solicitors, but there's quite a lot of bureaucracy around claiming it, and the amounts are not particularly high. So over the years, we've seen a declining number of people with legal representation, and at the moment around 95% of our applicants are self-represented. We like to think that that doesn't change the results, but it's undoubtedly quicker to review a case when somebody's got legal submissions.
So, John, there's lots of technical issues here. Do you have expert witnesses perhaps coming to speak to you to explain these matters?
Yes, the Commission has a training programme, and we're always interested to hear from experts about their practices and developments.
So they just contact you direct?
Always interested to hear, and I'll make sure my contact details are available.
Couple of final questions. In terms of, I think there's only 10 or 11 commissioners, is that right?
The statute that creates the Commission specifies that there must be 11 or more. So,
and how many are there now?
At the moment, there are some vacancies, so I think we're at 9 at the moment. But,
how are they selected? Are they lawyers or who are they?
One of the things that led to the creation of the Commission was concern that miscarriages of justice arose from lawyers looking at other lawyers' work.
So, terrible people, I know. But...
So Parliament specified that the Commission should consist of lawyers, but have commissioners who were not lawyers as well. So the commissioners come from a variety of backgrounds. They're not all lawyers.
So clearly 9 people can't look at hundreds and hundreds of cases. So you have case handlers, is that right? Or what are they called?
Case review managers.
Case review managers.
CRMs.
So they look at the evidence, and if they think it's suitable, do they then put it to a commissioner?
So the case review manager will conduct the investigation and look at all the material. They assemble that and produce a report that goes to a commissioner.
A commissioner or all of the commissioners?
It depends on what the recommendation is. So the report contains a recommendation. If the recommendation is for a reference to the Court of Appeal, because the CRM has concerns about the case, the Act requires 3 commissioners to look at that case and to decide whether to refer it or not. If the case review manager doesn't have any concerns about the case, it can go to a single commissioner for consideration, but that commissioner is entitled, indeed obliged, to take an independent review and can overrule the case review manager's decision and ask for a committee or for further work.
And is that done on paper, or does the commissioner actually meet the review manager?
Generally, it's a combination. So the reports are read and considered, and then there's a discussion about the merits and any points of clarification.
Well, John, that's really helpful. Thank you so much. So it sounds like the Commission is open to direct approaches from expert witnesses.
Absolutely.
And I think you have a very good website which has a lot of information about case law, etc., or cases that you've dealt with.
That's right. So on that will be our latest statistics. There's a library so that people can look at all the cases that we've decided that have been referred and read about the type of evidence that was involved in those cases and see the outcome.
And I think attached to this video, we're going to have that information and links to the right places. Well, John, anything else you want to add?
One thing I would add is that the Commission in England and Wales also covers cases in Northern Ireland, and it's been a model for best practice. So there's a counterpart commission in Scotland. There's recently been another commission established in New Zealand, and legislation is underway in Canada to create one very much based on the same model that we have here.
Well, John, thanks very much for your time, and thank you so much for watching. And I do recommend you look at the Commission website, because it has a lot of useful information. Thank you very much.